Hello everybody, good afternoon, welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United transfer news as we say, what next with this Manchester United transfer deadlock? Why is it INEOS cannot sign Ligt, Mazrauoi, Amrabat, Ugarte? What is going on at Manchester United? Well, look, I read the comments. There's a lot of frustration about what's a deal, what's not a deal, what's personal terms, what's not. There actually is a raft of information out there, and we're going to break it down where Manchester United are, because this is the latest from Fabrizio Romano, who says the agreement between Ligt and Manchester United has been in place and is valid since late June. Same for Mazrauoi, waiting for United since last week. Same with Ugarte, waiting since the start of July. Manchester United are still stuck in this transfer deadlock. And the question has to be why? So we're going to look at that, because Ligt to Manchester United has an agreement since June. What is that agreement that we have with Ligt, with Mazrauoi and Ugarte? All three of those players have spoken to Manchester United through their agent and have agreed a contract and wages and want to come. So they absolutely want to come. We haven't agreed the fee with the clubs. Why haven't we done that? And in the case of Ligt, you're talking probably 5 weeks, maybe 6 weeks, the end of June to the start of August, that Ligt has had a deal with Manchester United. Factor into that as well, Amrabat has been waiting since the 1st of July to see if Man United want him to come back. A whole month of doing what? So some of it's understandable, but some of it's absolutely crazy. When you think about, these are professional athletes sat about waiting for Manchester United. And also, we've got players that could be heading out the door as well. And we've got players that we think should be heading out the door that haven't yet. So I've spoken to a couple of people. You can probably guess who one of them is. And I have a list of information that basically they verified with me, which is where we are at with all these things. So we're going to go through it. But in relation to Ligt, Ugarte and Mazrauoi, obviously those players are terms agreed, contract agreed, wages agreed, agent fee agreed. The only thing that's stopping it is fee agreed with Bayern and PSG. And I would pose this question. If we have been waiting for 5 weeks on Ligt, what makes you think we're going to get it done in the next 5 days? It looks to me, and some of us would celebrate this, why is this happening when we've basically done all the work that's required with the player? I would say you've got A versus B. You've got Man United's offer A against what Bayern Munich or PSG want offer B, and they can't agree. And that's why it's drifted 5 weeks, because we thought we were going to get rid of this. We thought we were going to get rid of this world of Manchester United not negotiating deals for 5 or 6 weeks. But actually, it looks like that won't be the case, because obviously some of these deals are still going on even now. I think as well, when you look at how it is panning out, if Man United haven't paid for Ligt 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, why are they not paying now? And are the end? My point is, and I'll probably phrase it badly, if Man United offered £30 million for Ligt 5 weeks ago and Bayern Munich said no, and 5 weeks later we've got no movement, does that not expose the fact that PSG and Bayern aren't willing to shift either? So at some point, somebody's got to give way. And if we give way, well, should we have not just done that 5 weeks ago and saved our time? It is a ponderous question, where we hope we're going to get a solution to that question very, very soon. But on Ugarte, on Ligt and on Mazrauoi, these deals have been done with the player for a long, long time. We just haven't agreed fees with PSG and Bayern. Now, some might say, and I was speaking to a journalist this afternoon, some might say, with Ugarte, João Neves could be a big factor in that. With Ugarte, selling Scott McTominay could be a big factor in that. So now Neves is already at PSG, and if McTominay goes to Fulham, Ugarte could follow in the next few days very, very quickly. But on Ligt and Mazrauoi, obviously Wan-Bissaka factors into that, but what's the factor to get Ligt going? So, yeah, I mean, that's where we are with those players. On Amrabat, I mean, I don't know. I genuinely don't know, and I don't think anybody knows what's happening with Amrabat. He's just on his bloody Peloton in a pair of Man United shorts, hoping that Man United are going to sign him. And apparently, Man United are saying to him, "It could be you." But is Amrabat the backup plan if Ugarte doesn't happen? Is Amrabat coming in if we get rid of McTominay and Eriksen, or McTominay and Casemiro? I think that probably is the case, but we did this with Amrabat last year. We deprived Amrabat of a pre-season last year. Why would you keep doing the same thing again? He didn't get a pre-season last year, and he never really got going till the end of the season. So Amrabat coming to Manchester United without a pre-season again looks really weird. I mean, what I was told this afternoon is Man United sell McTominay to Fulham, buy Ugarte, Amrabat keeps waiting, Man United move Eriksen on in the middle of August and then bring Amrabat in the middle of August. And I'm like, but he's got no pre-season again. So, yeah, I don't really know what will happen with Amrabat. I can only tell you what I've been told, and Amrabat could well come in when we get rid of Eriksen or Casemiro, if we get rid of those. So, yeah, that's where we are with Amrabat. So, Ligt and Mazrauoi, we knew from this morning a double bid has gone in. We know from Mazrauoi and Ligt that they're frustrated. We know that the Ugarte deal is the same as Mazrauoi and Ligt in the sense that we've just got to agree deals with PSG and Bayern. And I believe we will get all three players. But when and what we'll pay, who knows? Paul's Lloyd, welcome to Members Club. Mario Franco says, agent being surprised by the rejection is worrying. Yeah, but look, I think those three players will happen, but the delays are ridiculous. My feeling is what I've always said, a lot of this comes down to not being able to sell players that need to be sold. Now, moving on to outgoings, Wan-Bissaka, where we are factually with that, is that he has agreed terms with West Ham. He wants to go to West Ham, but Manchester United and West Ham have not agreed a fee yet. Now, what I was told this afternoon was it could well be that as soon as Man United have played Liverpool tomorrow, that Wan-Bissaka deal to West Ham will suddenly have materialised. I.e., some might say that the fee hold up between Man United and West Ham is simply so that Man United can use Wan-Bissaka against Liverpool tomorrow night. And as soon as that game's out the way and Man United are flying back to the UK, you might see West Ham and Wan-Bissaka done early next week. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I can only tell you what I get told. We'll have to wait and see on that. You know what my stance is on that. I wish it wasn't the case. I think it's a big risk to be, yeah, we'll let Wan-Bissaka go after the Liverpool game because he could get injured. But apparently that could well be the case there. With Scott McTominay, it's probably going to be very similar. Fulham know the price. Man United will use him tomorrow, although he did start against Betis, so he'd probably be a second half sub. But again, Man United come back from the US and McTominay probably will join Fulham. However, remember, Fulham could well put the bid in the next 24 hours and have a here we go on that. So McTominay looking like he's going to head out to Fulham, as we know. What about other exits? So I mentioned this on the morning show. I spoke to this journalist at lunchtime about this. And although they won't commit on it because I don't think they really have the information on it, I was told there is a method to what you're saying. So what I said this morning was I wouldn't be surprised when we come back from the UK. I've heard that there are a number of deals lined up to be done. Hannibal will be one of those. Obviously, we've mentioned Wan-Bissaka and Scott McTominay. Lindelof is another one. So Hannibal and Lindelof expect when we're back from the US tour to go quite quickly. So realistically, when you break down where we are and you cut away from the shit, and get your questions in as well, because I'm happy to answer them, even though some of it will just be opinion as ever. If you're confused about what's happening with any transfer or any incoming, get your questions in. We'll have a bit of a Q&A on it. But we pretty much know where we are. What next is De Ligt and Mazrauoi from Bayern, Ugarte from PSG, Wan-Bissaka to West Ham and Scott McTominay to Fulham, Hannibal and De Ligt when we get back, probably going to go quite quickly as well. And Amrabat appears to be waiting to see what happens in the back end of the window with the likes of Eriksen and Casemiro. Now, what I was also told this lunchtime is Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Scott McTominay, probably going to go. Hannibal and De Ligt probably going to go early next week. We'll start hearing things. But was also told Harry Maguire, Christian Eriksen, Casemiro, keep an eye on them from now until the end of the transfer window. Because, and I was told, Maguire, when Ligt comes in, might suddenly realise getting in that England squad ain't going to be easy if you're not starting for Man United. Because the minute Yoro comes back, Martinez, Yoro, Ligt are ahead of him. So although Maguire's happy at the moment, if he asks to leave, Man United might let it happen. So keep an eye on Maguire towards the end of the window. Unlikely, but it could happen if Maguire looks at it and goes, I'm not going to play much. Because Ten Hag will always pick Martinez, Yoro and Ligt ahead of Maguire because they're his signings. So keep an eye on that. Pellistri, Mark Evans says Pellistri will go. Yeah, Pellistri will definitely go, 100%. There's no conversation about that. So keep an eye on Maguire towards the end of the window. Keep an eye on Casemiro towards the end of the window because there's only one place for Casemiro to go and it's Saudi Arabia. What I was told about that is Saudi Arabia appreciate Casemiro. They're just not interested in him at the moment. But towards the end of the transfer window, they are always looking for decent deals themselves. And if Casemiro starts pushing for a move, they may well come back in. And the belief is, like Maguire, Casemiro, if we bring Ugarte in, might look at it and go, I don't fancy being a bit of a bench player, which Ten Hag referenced himself when talking about Casemiro this morning. And then Eriksen, keep an eye on him because Christian Eriksen could well look at it and go, Ugarte, Mount, Bruno, Mainu, Collier, where are his starting opportunities? So keep an eye on those three players towards the end of the window. But now, right now, McTominay, Wan-Bissaka, Hannibal, Lindelof, and as you say, Pellistri, they're the ones to keep about. Sancho, look, nobody will tell me what's going on with Sancho. We spoke about him at the end of the show this morning. With Jadon Sancho, there is interest from Juventus, there is interest from Dortmund, there is interest from PSG, but nobody really knows where Man United stand on this. So what I was told about Sancho is, look, Ten Hag was asked about again whether there was an apology, and he said basically yes, there was, and it's about everybody working together. Some say there is a chance that Sancho will stay now and be given another opportunity. Some say it's all happy families to the public whilst they try and sort a deal out for him over the next few weeks. I don't know which way that's going to go. So I can't really give you a definitive on Sancho. I think it's different to Maguire and Lindelof and Casemiro because they could all stay, but they could all go at the end, over the next month. But with Sancho, no one can really say what's happening. Anthony to Besiktas, says Ross. Well, I think we've covered off everything there. Like Ligt, Mazrauoi and Ugarte, all terms done, all want to come. Just got to agree those deals with PSG and Bayern. McTominay, Wan-Bissaka, very, very close to West Ham and Fulham. Amrabat appears to be in the background if we want to bring another midfielder in, which means Casemiro or Lindelof or Eriksen need to go. Maguire, obviously, I think will stay, but could change his mind when we get Ligt. And Pellistri, Hannibal and Lindelof will all go over the next couple of weeks, I think. I mean, look, they might not go till the end of the window, but I think they'll all be gone by August the 31st. Axel says, I'm really tired of this second chance mentality with this club. You raise a good point, Axel. I think if we had no debt and we were a football club that was run like Manchester City, I think certain players would be gone already. You don't have a very strong power base against people on 250 grand a week when there's no one who wants to buy them. I mean, you're almost forced into giving a second, third, fourth, fifth chance because what do? Stay at home and play FIFA? You can't do that. So Man United want to be ruthless. They want to be well organised. They want to be elite mentality. But until they get rid of the deadwood, then they will still always be held back. And we can't necessarily get rid of it. Goldio says, McTominay being sold is a big fat mistake. I don't think it is. I mean, I'd love to know why it is. I understand some people... Get your questions in, by the way. We've basically covered off everything there. So if anyone's confused now, then you shouldn't be. Just going back to the show this morning about deal agreed for Scott McTominay. I mean, you can misinterpret it and you can talk about it however you want. You know, you're entitled to your opinion. That's fine. People put it in the comments. But the bottom line is that deal is agreed in relation to if Fulham pay £30 million, they'll get Scott McTominay. And Fulham are expected to do that. So, you know, it's the same with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I think those deals will happen. I think we're very close to those deals happening. I'll believe it when I see it with McTominay, but Wan-Bissaka's definitely going to go. But no, I'd love to know, Goldio, why you think it's a big fat mistake to sell Scott McTominay. I mean, look, I get that some people don't want him to go. I respect it. You know, Robert's a cracking lad and he wants McTominay to stay, but I'm not going to be a hypocrite on this. The guy is good in the air and he's relatively decent at scoring goals in the penalty box, but he can't pass, he can't tackle. You know, he wouldn't start for any top 6 side. I think that's the evolution that we're talking about here. And I think Wan-Bissaka's very similar as well. A lot of people don't want I don't understand this mentality. A lot of people don't want Wan-Bissaka to go. A lot of people don't want McTominay to go. And then they'll be moaning when we're finishing 8th. I'm like, you are so entrenched in this mediocrity of the last decade that you've forgotten what it means to be successful. Man City and Arsenal don't use people like Wan-Bissaka and McTominay. They don't put them on the bench either. Like, if you want to be the best, you've got to get the best in. And your bench has got to be very, very good. McTominay's limited. Wan-Bissaka is limited. Lindelof is limited. Maguire is limited. Casemiro is limited. These players need to be moved on for better players if you want to be a better team. When you look at the league table and you see Manchester United finishing 8th, or, you know, not being in the Champions League or finishing 5th or 4th. The reason for that is because we're not good enough. We are not going to win the title with people like Scott McTominay, Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Harry Maguire and people like that. We're not going to win it. So you've got to be ruthless and you've got to go, okay, move them on. So, yeah, I wish people like Wan-Bissaka and McTominay all the best, but 100% I'm cashing in. It's a mistake because of the goals last season. So many others should be sold ahead of him. We're keeping Worst Edward, who should be first out the door. Well, I love that, Goldio, and that's why I asked you for the response, because I agree with you on that one. I think you raise a very good point. The point being, should Scott McTominay be sold ahead of Jadon Sancho? No, of course he shouldn't. Scott McTominay scored goals last season. Scott McTominay turns up for training every day. Scott McTominay puts his body on the line for Manchester United time and time again. You raise a really good point. Even though I'd sell Scott McTominay right now, you do raise a good point. Others should go before him. But we already know why that can't happen. It's not like Ten Hag and INEOS are going, McTominay, you're first out the door, and McTominay's going, why? Look at him. Look at him. The explanation is very simple. Scott McTominay is on £60,000 a week, and Fulham are willing to pay 25-30 million for him. Jadon Sancho's on 250 grand a week and no one's willing to give us a bean. So as a club that needs to buy players and raise money, sell to buy, McTominay's gone. Because, you know, if anything, it's a compliment to McTominay. It's a compliment to Greenwood. Greenwood, a lot of clubs wanted him. McTominay, a lot of clubs want him. For us, we're selling a player that we probably wouldn't normally sell because he's actually got a value and people want him. You're right. He shouldn't be going ahead of other players. I agree. But needs must. So I think you make a great point, Goldio. Do you think Wan-Bissaka and Scott play against Liverpool? Says Methen. I think they both will. Yes, in some way, shape, or form. David Spruce says, "Hi Mark, it's my friend Wayne Sutton's 40th birthday today. He hates you, so I bought your book as a gift. Have a good day, David." You should have got we should have come up with a little bit of a message I could have put in as well, a little video message or something. Let the haters hate, David. Thank you very much. Thank you for your hard work, Mark, says Alexander. Some really clear and big excitings up there. Sounds like next week could be what we're waiting for. Well, I'm reticent, Alexander, to say that because I said that this week and I've said it so many times over the years and I think we've all felt it over the years. This week's going to be a big week. But you know what I will say? I'll say from Monday, the next 2 weeks are going to be big. I think from Monday to the Fulham game, you've got to see activity there. I mean, I think you had to see some activity this week, but it's just complete. I mean, it's Friday, it's 2:00. We've done nothing from Monday. No signings, no exits, nothing. So a week it might not be next week, but I agree with you. I think that once we get back, can we just say this now with total and utter conviction? Because I got pelters for this, for saying it 2 weeks ago. When United go on tour, the online banking account shuts down. We don't sign anyone. We don't sign people on tour. And it's happened again, even under the new INEOS regime, which is a good regime with a CEO, a director of football, a technical director. We shut down our transfer activity on tour, and it's happened again. So I think in the future, we may as well just say nothing's going to happen while we're on tour, because nothing has happened while we've been on tour, and nothing tends to happen when we're on tour. Mark, on Pickstar, you can book McTominay for events. Maybe you could get him to do a live book reading. There will be a lot of passion. Also books great, says Dorian. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And Philip Book has gifted a membership, talking about books. Paul says, do you think Varane's departure was in mutual agreement because of his concerns regarding number of games, injuries? I think, Paul, Varane's departure was because he was on 300 grand a week. Man United are desperate to get that wage bill down. I mean, look, I was reading back what Ten Hag said about Casemiro. Called him a leader, said if people want to be here in the starting line or off the bench, then, you know, they can be really important. But I don't think for 1 minute Ten Hag wants Casemiro at Man United. And I don't think for 1 minute Sir Jim wants Casemiro at Man United. I think that 350 grand a week will be a massive irritant. If he was on 200 grand a week, I genuinely think it comes down to money, and it's a great point by Paul, because I think if Varane had 2 years left on his contract and was on 150 grand a week, he'd be here for 2 years. And that's the way I work these things out. Varane didn't go for any other reason than the fact that his contract was up and he was on 300k, and United saw an opportunity to save 300k a week. If Harry Maguire contract ended at the end of June, he'd be gone. And if Varane's contract had another year and a plus one, and he was on 150 grand a week, he'd still be here. It's just contracts here. It's a bit like what Goldio was saying about McTominay. Does McTominay deserve to be sold ahead of maybe Maguire or Sancho or Casemiro or Eriksen? Well, maybe he doesn't, but it's circumstance that he will be sold. Did Varane deserve to leave Man United ahead of Maguire, Lindelof, Evans? No, but his contract was up, so off you go. Man United are making decisions at the moment that are not necessarily footballing decisions. They're business decisions, because if you can get rid of somebody, you may as well do it, whether they're good or not, because there's players that we can't get rid of that we want to get rid of. So Varane goes because you maybe can't sell Maguire. McTominay goes because you maybe can't sell Casemiro. But you've got to do something. Now, what do you think about that? Would you rather they just kept Varane and McTominay and didn't buy anybody? Or would you rather they let Varane and McTominay go to get new players in because they can't get rid of Maguire and Casemiro no matter what? And I think you've got to do something. I think INEOS are in a difficult position. Hi, Mark. If we bring in Amrabat, do you feel it will hinder the growth of Collier, says Samir? Look, I've said before, Samir, the midfield roster for me that I would be very happy with is Collier, Ugarte, Mainu, Bruno, Mount, and either Amrabat, Casemiro or Eriksen. But that six would be fine. As long as we've got Ugarte, Collier, Mainu, Bruno, Mount, one of Eriksen, Casemiro, Amrabat, McTominay, I'd be happy with. I mean, if we've got seven, fine, but I'd as long as we've got those five, one from the other four. But that comes back to who you can get rid of, doesn't it? Since Deadlock and Mazrauoi can play, just talking about this, Liam, I've got a super chat from Liam we're going to read in a moment, Liam Cavo. But people this morning were talking about Bruno Fernandes. He is back. He was back at Carrington today, so there you go. He is back. Liam says, since Deadlock and Mazrauoi can play right back and left back, can you still see us buying a left back in our current situation with Amas and Malacia potentially boosting? Good question, Liam. There is an update on Malacia. He's 2 months away from playing, according to Ten Hag. So 2 months from today is August, September. So the earliest we'll see Malacia is probably back end of September, maybe early October. Remember what I said a few weeks ago? I'll be surprised if he plays before Christmas. That might have been a bit over the top, but mate, he hasn't been fit since April 2023. It's August 2024. He's therefore been injured for close to 16 months. By the time he gets back, it's a year and a half. Who is out with an injury for a year and a half? Well, Malacia. But it's incredible. And I'll say it again, if this lad, and I hope he does, plays professional football consistently at the top level again, it'll be a bloody miracle. You don't miss a year and a half of football in your early 20s and come back and like you've never been away. Like, I don't know the detail of his injury, so it's very, very unfair to predict this. But when you have an injury like that, there's going to be secondary injuries. There's going to be third injury. You know, he's going to have problems with his other knee. He's probably going to have hamstrings. His body's not done anything for 18 months. These footballers are elite conditioned athletes who every day are having ice baths, you know, working their muscles. Malacia hasn't done anything for what will be 18 months. I think he'll get back training, and I'd be very surprised if in the first 2 months back, he doesn't do a calf or a hamstring or something like that. And even if he doesn't, there's two big things that Malacia has got a problem with. One, can his body put up with it coming back? And two, how good is he? You know, missing 18 months of football, even if your body stands up to it, technically, can you remember? Like, it's tough. It's going to be really tough. So to answer your question, Liam, on the left-back situation, we'll have Delo at right-back. We'll have Mazrauoi. Both can play at left-back. But if Mazraui's at left-back and Delo's at right-back, you've got no full-backs. So what you're basically saying is if Luke Shaw gets injured and we use Mazrauoi at left-back, well, we've got no subs. Malacia, I don't trust. Luke Shaw would be injured. Who plays at right-back? You know, we need another left-back. As I've said, Amas is a very interesting player, but if you're going to use Amas, you've got to basically say you're willing to pick him from the start. And I don't think you can play a 17-year-old week in, week out. So I think we need to bring in a left-back. That's my answer, because if you've got Mazrauoi and Delo, is Shaw and Amas enough on the left-hand side? And I think I think we need another fullback. I would like to bring in Gutierrez from Girona, or I would like to bring in a left-sided centre-back who can play left-back. I know Hanko was mentioned, but I think he's already moved. How many new players do you think we will get in, says Darren? I think Ugarte, Ligt and Mazrauoi will come in, and that might be it. That number 7 shirt curse knocking people out for years, says Parker. Audiobook is class, says James Clough. Thank you very much, mate. If you've ordered that, you're an absolute legend. Really appreciate it. Lots of people. Just big shout out, by the way, to those people on Instagram who are sending me pictures of... hold on. They're sending me pictures of their book, and some people are getting quite creative. So their book's arrived and they're doing it in quite creative ways. So I've been sharing them on my Instagram at GoldbridgeMark. If you do get the book today or in the future, just tag me. Just put it on your story and tag at GoldbridgeMark, and then I can have a look at them and share them. So thanks to everyone who's doing that. Really appreciate it. If you get it on Amazon, please do leave us a review on there as well. But scan the QR code. You can order that, or the links in the description in the live chat. Just going back to Amas, by the way. Has anybody thought about it like this? I think Amas will be a future player for Manchester United. I think Collier will be a future player for Manchester United. And obviously Mainu is a future player for Manchester United. When you think about that, put a value on what that's saved us already. I mean, 100 million easy. 100 million pounds those three players have saved us instantly. And that's if Collier just ends up being, you know, not even a starter, maybe just a squad player. And the same with Amas. I mean, Mainu's got to be worth, you know, north of 60 million already. So, yeah, I mean, this we mustn't ever take for granted bringing through these young players, because the money it saves Manchester United is massive. And obviously, there's so many other players that can come through as well. What team do you think we'll use against City, says Justina? I think already we'll be playing City in the way we played the cup final, won't we? We're not going to go out there and express ourselves, I don't think. I think it's going to be... I certainly think it will be Maguire and Lindelof. I mean, Martinez might not play that game. Martinez will have only had 3 or 4 days. So I don't think Martinez will play 90 minutes against Man City. Same with Garnacho, same with Bruno, same with Delo. They're all going to be using that for probably 60 minutes ahead of the Fulham game on the following Friday. So I think against Man City, we will have to play a deeper line, won't we? Trim says, I don't understand your player hate against McTominay. McTominay is a gifted footballer, can make passes through the lines. Yeah, Trim, you've just talked total shit. I don't do hate either, and I've never seen McTominay play a pass between the lines, so I think we'll just move on. Would you still go for Alvarez, says Ruben? Well, we're not going to get Alvarez out of Man City. You know, I like him. I think he's a good player, but we're not going to get him. Regan says, I think Collier can be our standout player this season. Yeah, Toby Effenberg or Stefan Collier. I tell you, go and watch clips of Effenberg and then watch Collier. It's very niche and it's very true. How many? Done that one, done that one, done that one. It's a long-term rebuild, Mark, top to toe. It says enjoy writing. Yeah, I was reading one of the comments this morning and somebody said, oh, you're changing your tune now, saying it's a 3-year rebuild when you said before it was a 1-year rebuild. I've never said it's a 1-year rebuild. I've literally never said it's a 1-year rebuild. Like, I don't know whether they're mixing me up with someone else. There are people out there demanding that we've got to do really well this year or Ten Hag and INEOS need to go. I would say 3 to 5 years if you want to win a title. And that's if everything goes well. I think 10 years of failure and the domination of Manchester City, I don't think Man United can go from this point to winning the league in a year or two. I think you've got to, you know, a lot's got to go right. And I would say, you know, 3 to 5 years. I mean, ideally, this season, we get in the top 4. Next season, we stay in the top 4 and we stay in the Champions League, because that's been mission impossible for the last 10 years, is actually staying in the Champions League year after year. And year 3, getting a title race. Don't mean you'll win it, but I think not this season, not next season, but the season after, I'd like us to be closer to whoever's winning the league. Thank you very much for that. If we can't get Ugarte, then Amrabat for 20 million is bad business. We would have to upgrade after 12 months because he's not top 4 level, says HW. Yeah, I don't know what I think about Amrabat, really. I think, as I say, he's the one that confuses me the most. I don't really understand if he's important to us, why we've left him hanging for a month. You know, we're obviously undecided, so we probably shouldn't do it. But look, hopefully we know where we are. We know what's happening. What happens next? You know, can we get that Bayern Munich bid for Mazrauoi and Ligt done and get them on their way? Can we get McTominay and Wan-Bissaka out and get Ugarte in? Those things look like they're within reach, but putting a label on when it's going to happen, good luck with that. But, you know, I suppose in a sense, that's the exciting thing. But the bottom line is, why has Ugarte had personal terms agreed with Man United for a month and the deal's not done? Probably because we don't want to pay what PSG and Bayern Munich want. And maybe because we can't pay it anyway until we sell some players. So, yeah, I think that the tour has been a write-off in relation to transfers, as it typically is. So you hope that when the tour is over tomorrow night, next week, things kick into place. Still awaiting my signed copy from WH Smith, says Jamie. Thank you very much for ordering it, pal. You should be getting it soon because a lot of people are. I'm actually going to go for a little bit of a walk now and listen to a little bit more of the audiobook, which I'm enjoying. So I will leave it there. But it is Friday. It is an 8 o'clock show tonight, and I will see you on that. Smash a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe. And if you want to order the book, scan the QR code or go through the link in the description. Stay safe, everyone. Speak to you all later. Thanks for all your contributions. Thanks for all your comments. And we'll catch up later. Take care.